It's 9 o'clock and we are live. Welcome once again to the Winner Circle, the podcast covering jiu-jitsu, MMA, and all combat sports. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me, as always, my podcast partner, Isaiah Gathings. What's up, man?
What's happening, fam?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Center Network. And on Mondays, you got the Winner Circle with myself and Isaiah Gathings. Tuesdays, the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Wednesdays, the traditional way with Brett Shumway. And Thursdays, it's Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with myself and Joe Hartley. For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts Center Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. And don't forget about the main app, the Martial Arts Center Network app. Zeke, is showtime. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How was your Valentine's Day?
Man, it wasn't bad, man. Me and the wife, we just kind of chilled out. We went downtown, actually, downtown Detroit, and hung around Campus Martius. It wasn't that cold yesterday, so I didn't mind getting out. You know, it was like 46, 47 degrees yesterday, so it was cool. So we hung around Campus Martius a little bit. Then we went to Texas Day, Brazil, and ate over there. We also went to the DIA. She likes art. And she had mentioned to me a few months ago that she's never been to the DIA. So whenever she says something like that, I always store it away in my brain. So a day like that, I figured it would be perfect, you know, and it was free also since we live in the city of Detroit. So it was free for us. We got to go into DIA. You know, I haven't been to the DIA probably since I was a little kid. And as I was walking around, because I probably went there on a school field trip. And as I'm walking around, I was thinking, like, if I came here as a kid, I probably would not have enjoyed it that much because I didn't see anything that was really catering to kids. So I don't know, maybe if you're in art school or something like that as a kid, or if you're really, really into painting, but it didn't really look really kid friendly. At least yesterday it didn't. Not in my opinion, it didn't. And then we just drove around downtown, man, and came on home. So it was cool, man.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man. So
all right.
What's up? What's going on with you, man?
Not a lot, man. Just ready to dive into these topics, man. Let's get to it.
All right. So our first topic for the night for Winner Circle. Zeke, I want to know who is on your Mount Rushmore of martial arts influential people that impacted your life. So we're doing a Mount Rushmore. So we're going to keep it to 4 martial artists. Okay. Who do you got on your list?
I thought it was only 3 people on Mount Rushmore. Is there 4?
It's 4.
Yeah. See, I need to be at the DIA getting some culture apparently, because I'm like, I thought it was just 3. Terrible. What an embarrassing moment. But that's okay. I had one in the chamber anyway, just because, you know, it wasn't too tough for me. I mean, it was challenging because obviously whenever you're doing something where you have to have a certain number of individuals, there's people you have to omit. And then there's all this discussion and controversy. How come you didn't have this person? I can't believe you forgot that person.
Well, you know what?
It's always tough because you're trying to make sure that you balance it. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? I want you to realize, like, I want it to be for you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you even knew. You know, because for instance, one of my people that's on my list, I think it's on my list, is Bruce Lee. I've never met Bruce Lee. Don't know anything
right.
personally about him. But if it wasn't for him, we probably would not be martial artists.
Right.
You know, so that is definitely someone who's an influence on our life. So you know, something like that. So that doesn't really matter. You know.
All right. Well, here is my 4 instead of 3. I have in no particular sequential order. I have Bruce Lee. You know, I am very critical of Bruce Lee, the fighter. The Asian community has done a really good job of preserving his legacy. At times, maybe inflating it a little bit, right? And that's okay. You know, that's okay. Everybody needs heroes. You know, so I mean, I'm not hating at all. So I am critical of him as some of the stories that we hear about his martial art fighting career over his lifetime. But there is no question about the impact that he had in the martial arts or the martial art community. He was just so much more than just a martial artist. He was an amazing actor. And if you look it up, he acted in a lot of movies, even many that were not really martial art related. Early in his career. So he was a great actor. That's really what sold you on the movies. And a lot of people don't give credit. We watch a lot of martial art movies coming up. And even though the martial arts might be good in some of them, they don't always resonate to us because the individuals are not necessarily good actors or actresses. He was. And if you look at his martial art now, the martial arts that he did in comparison to the martial art movies that we're seeing, if I'm being honest with you, the martial arts in those movies were not very impressive. He was doing skip side kicks, flying side kicks, crescent hook kicks and stuff like spinning hook kicks and vertical punches and things like that. But it was just his acting ability and skill set was able to bring those roles to life, and it spoke to us in many ways in addition to the martial arts. So definitely an amazing actor. He was
And with him at that time, like that was something new that hit America. Like, no one had ever seen anything like that at that point in time before. So I get it.
He was a great philosopher. Many of the quotes that we use in our martial art facilities, today, to this day, were things that that he came up with, that he shared. There were ideals and views that he had. So again, definitely a great philosopher. One thing that I think is interesting is that he highlighted something that we were not even aware of necessarily was going on in their culture, which was a particular level of prejudice and racism. If you're from America and you're not from Asia, or you're not from anywhere overseas, we didn't understand that there was a discord necessarily between Chinese and Japanese. We didn't understand that, right? So his movies highlighted that. And many of us were unaware of that as minorities, growing up ourselves as Black people, African American, Latino or Mexican, or people of color or descent. We have experienced our fair share of prejudice and racism in many ways. So when we saw Bruce Lee, we like, okay, well, they Chinese, they Japanese, it's all Gucci. We didn't realize that they also experienced that level of prejudice and racism as well. And we saw him highlight things like that, like in Chinese Connection and other movies like that was really big, and how he spoke out and defended his culture and things like that and highlighted that. So I think that really resonated really well with other communities or who are minorities. So that really became relatable for us. So for all those reasons, I have him.
Did you ever watch the TV series that he helped create, Warrior?
No.
Warrior. Yeah. No. So Warrior, man, me and Joe covered that on Fix, Kiss, and Flicks, and that really showed the type of racism that the Chinese people went through back in the 1800s. Because I never studied that in school, so I never knew what they went through as they were putting together the railroad system and everything, man. So if you get a chance, check out Warrior. It's only 3 seasons. They're not really long. It's like 10 episodes each season. And me and Joe covered that on Fist and Flicks. But that was his idea. And that was supposed to be what Kung Fu was back in the 70s. They took his idea for Kung Fu. And so he still had all of his notes. So he still had all of his notes, and his daughter found those notes. And she put them together and got with some writers, and they put out Warrior. But that was his child. He created that. So, but yeah,
well, you see that he experienced it for sure. I mean, we know it with the Green Hornet. They made Kato wear a mask because of the fact that he was Chinese. You know what I mean? And they didn't want that to be shown, so they wanted his character, and they wanted his martial arts skills and prowess, but they didn't want to take anything away from the primary or the chief actor. And it was a very sensitive and touchy subject matter around that time. So again, he just really highlighted some things that I think resonated well with different communities who are minorities. And that's what really made him relatable, because again, as youth, you're looking at it like, I'm a Black person and I understand there's discriminatory practices that goes on as a Black person. Or if you are, a brown person, or anybody of any type of color or descent or whatever, who is in any community where there's prejudice or racism, you're familiar with that. But we didn't even really realize, being a youth, that that in the Asian community overseas that there was this discord and prejudice and racism between Chinese and Japanese. So again, he was able to kind of highlight that. In addition to that, it made it relatable to us, I feel. Michael Jai White, he's got to go up there for me as well. Definitely a talented martial artist, representing not just the martial arts but our community as well. 8 black belts, something like that, in different arts and systems. A great actor, and then a crossover actor, because not just acting in martial art movies, which again I talked about that with Bruce Lee, and maybe he took a page out of his book. But most times you see a martial artist and they're just exclusively acting in martial art movies. It's almost like taboo to be able to cross over and do some of the things that he's done in acting. You're looked at kind of differently in the community based on what we understand about martial art actors to be. But he's acted in many things outside of just martial art movies, and just really a really down-to-earth individual as well. So I have to put him up there.
Okay.
Jackie Chan has to go. I mean, the amount of movies that he's been in, and just not just the amount of movies he's been in, because we've seen coming up watching those old kung fu movies that there was some people been in hundreds of them, but the caliber of martial arts, the choreography that he comes up with for these martial art movies, and then also teaches the people that he brings on board, his core crew. He works intimately with those individuals with their choreography. Another amazing actor, as well, doing his own stunts, throughout his entire career. And just you've never really heard any type of scandal, anything negative associated with them, nothing but positivity. And then again, another individual that was able to cross over his martial arts to not just martial art movies, but martial arts and comedy movies like Rush Hour and things like that. He looked up to, I think it was Charlie Chaplin, who was the back when they had the black and white, and he was kind of the comedian. He looked up to him. He modeled him, behind him for his acting, as relates to the comedy part, of his acting. I think it was, if I and again, this is a little bit before my time, but I think it was back when they had the black and white, and I don't think he spoke, but he just, he was a comedian that did funny things, but he didn't speak. If I remember that correctly,
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing him speak. No. Yeah.
So Jackie Chan really studied him. He studied acting, he studied martial arts, but he studied him, as well as a lot of other individuals as well, and it just translated over into everything that he's doing. So he goes from straight, ridiculous, amazing martial art movies to being able to do crossover things that has a comedic factor in there, as well as just, again, doing his own stunts, still being an active martial artist, even at his age. Just so many amazing things with Jackie Chan. He definitely has to go up there for me. And if I had to pull a fourth one out, because I thought it was only 3, I would probably say Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen is another one that been in a ton of movies. Always nothing but positive vibes. One of the movies that, I don't know if you've ever seen this, I know you guys do the fist kicks and flicks, but one of the movies, Flashpoint, was an amazing movie that Donnie Yen did, which he actually learned MMA. And in this particular movie, he showcased so many different aspects of martial arts, even learning MMA and doing MMA in the movie. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu he did in there, MMA, kickbox. He went through maybe like 7 to 12 different martial arts styles in Flashpoint. It's an incredible movie, and just for somebody to be able to step outside what it is they do. Like, we know him as Ip Man, right? But just for him to be able to step outside of what it is that he normally does, his wushu or his kung fu, and be humble enough to be able to learn other martial art style systems, training them. And at the end of the movie, they showed him training in those different, type of arts. That's amazing. And I've always admired martial artists like that, because too often we have these instructors that, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with being a master, grandmaster, expert in your own craft. But some people look down on or frown upon people that go outside of what it is that they've learned and try to expand their knowledge and be great at other things. And for him to be able to step outside of that and do that and get the training, the proper training necessary so that he can showcase that in that movie to be relatable to more than just his community, I think was a big deal. Again, another person that's an absolutely amazing actor as well. And yeah, those four guys, Bruce Lee, Michael Jai White, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, those guys got to be on my Mount Rushmore for sure.
Okay. Now, did you purposely pick people who were in movies? Did you do that on purpose?
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose I did.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. I was just wondering. So I really don't have. I mean, besides Bruce Lee, who I have like as well, you know what? Let me get to my list. Well, so the first person that was the most influential, I'm gonna go with my father first of all, because if it wasn't for my dad, my family would not be in martial arts at all. My dad was the first one. His first Taekwondo school, he started in Taekwondo. His Taekwondo school, the original building, is down the street, literally a mile away from where my current karate school is.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, he was the one who got the ball rolling for my family in martial arts. Now my dad, I mean, he competed some when he was first getting started and everything, and in the black belt division. And I never really realized up until a couple of years ago, I think it was during COVID, is when I found out how long my dad actually was around the martial arts. So I think he stopped teaching in 1984. I didn't know that he had been teaching that long. So when him and my uncle started in the 70s, I thought my dad started, got married, and pretty much stopped after sometime after he got his black belt. I didn't know he was still teaching at their instructor's school.
And your dad started before your uncle.
Yeah, the reason my uncle started was because of my dad. My grandfather was, you know, told my dad to take your little brother with you when you go to class. So, you know, if it wasn't for my dad, my uncle wouldn't have been involved. And that's the second person is my uncle, because, you know, if it wasn't for him, I mean, it's sitting in my grandmother's living room, playing with my toys, watching TV. Her living room was littered with his trophies. I mean, there were so many trophies, and I like the trophies. So as I'm looking at the trophies, I wanted some for myself. You know, that was one of the things as a kid that I always liked, like, you know, seeing the Warrior Cup in my grandmother's living room and seeing all the different styles of trophies, and they're all different and different colors and everything. Man, they became like decoration for the living for the house.
Right.
So, you know, but those two people, I wanted to be martial art. If my dad had never became a martial artist, I don't know what I would be doing now, because everything that Trav and I do revolves around martial arts. From me being an instructor myself, to my clothing line that I created is around martial arts, to my comic strip is about martial arts. Everything that I do revolves around martial arts. So if my dad hadn't started Taekwondo, I have no idea what I would be doing now. Some people said that I probably would be in music. I always disagree with that, because the first group that I was working with when I started doing music was Travis and Peter Davenport, and we had a bunch of karate guys who I was messing around with, trying to make beats for. So if those karate guys weren't around, I wouldn't have been trying to make beats. That was the whole thing. I had a friend who was a producer in high school, and I was in high school, and I wanted him to make some beats for me. He never wanted to make the type of music that I like. Like, I liked a lot of the West Coast sound, and he was a straight East Coast boom bap type of sound. So he did not want to make the type of music that I wanted. He was like, if you want this type of music, you do it yourself. So I learned how to make the beats myself for Trav and his group, and then I started branching out, and then Ski was rapping in his group, so then I started making beats for his group, and that's how it came about. So I have no idea. I'll probably just be doing comics and cartoons, or I'm assuming, or maybe I might have went into architecture because I could draw. So I have no idea. So, you know, and then, you know, being around my uncle all of the time, he had a hand in raising Trav and I, because we were always at the karate school every night from 5 to 8 o'clock. We were at the school all the time,
Right.
and on the weekend, and going to tournaments, and going on road trips to Chicago or New York or Cincinnati and Kentucky. So we spent a lot of time. And as we're with my uncle, he's giving us life lessons and talking to us about everything. You know, so those two definitely had an impact on how me and Trav came up. The third person I would say would be Bruce Lee, because like I said, most of the time, most of us in America probably would not be doing this activity if it wasn't for Bruce Lee and his movies that he put out. I mean, those kung fu flicks back in the 70s really, had a chokehold on America, man. Every Saturday afternoon, I heard people always were watching movies on Saturdays. And I always wondered why karate got to be so much bigger than kung fu, because those movies, they always talked about, I think it was called Kung Fu Masterpiece Theater, right?
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, so many people don't really say, kung fu. They talk about karate. I really don't know why that picked up more so than kung fu. Do you have any idea?
Well, karate's the word karate means empty hand. So to be honest with you, karate can any form of martial arts pretty much should fall under the guise or could necessarily be called karate, which is why people who study actual karate, it's like karate do or some type of hyphenated term that has the word karate in there to be able to make sure that it's specifically germane towards whatever it is that they're learning. But it's a broad word or term that can go, be used for just about any system or any art. More to your point, though, I think that karate became more Americanized than kung fu. It was kind of cool to watch when you're coming up, when you saw the people speaking and in their language, and then it was the voiceover dub, and we laughed about how the lips wasn't going with what was being said and things like that. But over a course of time, just to be able to have that crossover appeal, we kind of like watching movies that are Americanized or that are done in English. You know what I mean? And I think that karate did a better job of being able to not just Americanize it, but be able to actually get Americans involved in it. Whereas in kung fu, that wasn't something that you saw very much. A lot of times the quality of the movies were not the best, in addition to the fact that they were dub overs as well. And yeah, it wasn't as relatable to us over here, I think, in the States as it would have been to people over there.
The only thing I can really think is, by having American soldiers in the Korean War and them being overseas, maybe they learned karate and brought it back to America. And then when we had Koreans come to America, because kung fu is a Chinese art,
right?
So I'm only thinking like maybe the Korean influence came over here before the Chinese martial artists came over here to open up kung fu schools. That's the only thing I can think of. Also, other than that, I really have no idea. I might have to talk.
I thought you were talking about in cinema, so I apologize.
No. I meant.
Oh, you meant period.
Yeah, because the movies they weren't called karate movies; they were called kung fu flicks and kung fu movies.
Okay.
But most people in America, when it came to training, they didn't train kung fu; they trained karate or taekwondo. So I was just wondering, like,
your uncle can give you a better understanding of that, because him and I had a conversation some years ago, and he gave me the history of why certain areas are more populated with others, particularly like for Michigan, with the Korean martial arts. He was talking about the Lee family that kind of came and migrated over there. The Lee's a beauty supply franchise and chain. Something about your uncle knows, because he told me years ago, something about them coming over there. And I don't know if they were starting that business and then they started teaching the martial arts, or if they came over for martial arts and then they started that business. But it has something to do with them, because for instance, in Canada, you have a lot of Japanese and you have a lot of Chinese kung fu and things like that as well. So there's something about how these individuals migrated to these different places, which is why certain areas are very heavily populated with just Korean or with Japanese or with Chinese martial arts. and your uncle knows better, so I don't want to definitely misquote and tell the story wrong.
I'm gonna shoot him a text message and pick his brain and see.
Pick his brain, but I thought I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about cinema when you.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good.
I apologize.
And then the last person to make my fourth person would be Royce Gracie because of what he did. If Royce had went out to UFC 1 and lost and got destroyed, that would have. I mean, there may not have been. Do you think there would have been a UFC 2 if that would have happened? Maybe, probably with
Hickson.
I'm blanking on Hickson. Probably with Hickson.
So to answer your question, and then I'm going to backtrack for a question that you asked me a little bit earlier and expound on a little bit as well. I think it's not up to me to judge, obviously, because it's your list, but I think that's an amazing list that you have. Definitely well thought out and definitely an incredible list. As far as if Royce would have lost, would there have been a second one? I think they would have probably put Hickson in there. I think that I love the fact that you said Royce. But the truth of the matter is, if we're really going to give, and you can't put him on your Mount Rushmore, not saying that he isn't good, because Royce was the one in there doing the work. Right. But I do want to make sure that the mastermind behind this was Rorion.
Yes.
Was the one, because Royce had to fight the fight, but Rorion was the business mind behind it. And he also, I'm sure, was smart enough. I'm sure he had something to do with that field of competitors and fighters. Like, look, it's got to be competitive, but I have to make sure that the odds are stacked. I don't use the word stacked in our favor, but it's a winnable. Does that make sense? It's a winnable field for my family, for Royce before I put him out there. And that was kind of like that video that you sent me where it was this conspiracy theories where they were talking about how none of the top fighters were there and all that type of stuff. Right. So I'm not saying that I'm of that mindset, because we all know that anything happens in combat sports and you have to fight the fight still. So just because he could have won, or maybe it was lesser opposition that was there, that doesn't mean that he would have. He could have got hurt out there. Somebody could have showed up and showed out and just, caught him by surprise. He definitely deserves to be there. But I know I'm really impressed at not only Horion's vision, but his ability to work within. He had his hand in everything that had to do with that to ensure or at least try to solidify the most favorable outcome for them. So, if it was just somebody else that was ahead of it and they just threw everybody together, again, we don't know. And that speaks to that video that you're talking about. We don't know how that would have turned out. We also don't know if he would have chose Royce over Hickson. For those who don't know, the primary reason was because he wanted to showcase the strength of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the smaller person, and he didn't think that he'd be able to do that using Hickson because Hickson was huge. And folks would look at him like, look at this dude. He's supposed to win. Like, this dude is massive. Of course he won. So he wanted to use the slighter person, the smaller frame individual, to say that we can put him up against all of these bigger fighters, and our system is so solid that he still can be successful. And he did do that, and I think that he deserves all the credit, and I think that's a great person that you put on your Mount Rushmore for sure.
I got an honorable mention. Has to be Georges St-Pierre, man, because it's like he was the prototype of what MMA fighter is now. Because when he came out, even I like the fact that he was a karate guy, but he still knew how to box and do wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He was well-rounded. And that was what, at that time, a lot of people kept always talking about how well-rounded he was. And because back then, a lot of people were wrestlers. They were wrestlers and jiu-jitsu practitioners. And he kind of had it all wrapped up in one. Now, but he still had his foundation. He still had his fundamentals, which was his karate skills. And a lot of the fighters now, I don't see them having a foundation. They just train everything all together without having something that's their foundation, it seems like to me. But I think that he was the first one that was really, really well-rounded. And that's just an honorable mention I threw in there.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan. And
oh, wow, really? You wasn't a fan of GSP?
I mean, I did not like him. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
So remember, we throw this word fan around a lot. Remember what fan is short for Fanatic, right?
Yeah.
And was I a fanatic? Was he must see television to me? He was boring. He was born for everything you just mentioned. He's born because he's well rounded. You know, he was born because he was successful. He's born because he's a champion. When you win that belt, you know, you start working on being able to defend it. That's a different lifestyle. You in a different tax bracket. When you walk around with that belt, you know what I mean? You an actor, you got sponsorships, you in commercials, so you fighting to protect it. And at that point in time, the entertainment value of other individuals watching isn't especially important to you. I get it. When I say I wasn't a fan, that doesn't mean that I dislike them. But it also is important to understand that there is two sides of me. I am an instructor / coach, right? And then I'm a fan. When I was coming up, you know, as a fan, I wanted to see more exciting things. As an instructor or coach, I 100% think that what he did was phenomenal. I will coach my guys to fight just the same way that he did and use him as the prototype for success, because what he did was successful. So as a coach, as an instructor, as a fighter himself, he should have done everything that he did, and he did it well. You know, as a fan, a casual person that's sitting there watching a pay-per-view or whatever the case is, it wasn't super exciting for me. It can be both. You can look at things through the lens of a fan, and you can look at things through the lens of a coach or an instructor and saying, he followed that game plan to a T. That's the reason why he won. That's the reason why he's, you know, goated. That's the reason why, you know, he's the man. He was the champion. Everything that he did was amazing. You know what I mean? As a fan, it wasn't always, you know, as entertaining or appeasing to me. That doesn't mean I'm against anything that he did.
So who was your guy at that point? Because he was in the welterweight division at that time, back when he was in his run, 2000, I don't know, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who was your guy then? If you didn't like GSP, then in that division, who was it? Matt Hughes?
I liked Matt Hughes.
Okay.
I like Matt Hughes.
And you thought Matt Hughes was more entertaining than GSP?
But remember what I told you before.
Uh-huh.
The UFC was built on style versus style.
Yeah.
Which means well-rounded does not it's a disqualification. It's a disqualification of a style versus style. I want to see a guy who only can box. That's all he know how to do. That's it. That's what the UFC was built off of. And I want a guy who only know how to do karate. And I want to see who's going to win. We came up watching these movies, these kung fu movies. The guy would come out there and announce the style that he was going to do, tiger style. You know what I mean? It's like, he got the tiger. Oh, he got the crane? Let me see which one wins. He ain't flip up and switch it around and be like, well, I am mixing my tiger with. And it's like, nah, bro, stick with tiger, man. You getting that work, and now you want to try to switch it up. I need to see that tiger. I need to see that crane. That, to me, the UFC represented that. So as a fan, as I started to become an adult, I got a chance to actually in real life see what we saw on the television screen in cinema, what we saw in fiction, right before your eyes. And I think that's what really catapulted it to take off at the beginning, because everybody wanted to know, can this wrestler really beat this Golden Glove boxer? Can this jiu-jitsu guy, you know, with a gi on and his belt, he coming out there, really beat this kickboxer, this K1 kickboxing champion? So I know it's absurd to believe that somebody's only going to do one thing and not be well-versed in something else. I'm saying as a fan, I enjoy specialists, and that's what got me watching to the end of round 3. I'm on my phone half the time now while this is in the background, because I'm like, ain't nothing get ready going, because he don't have any knockout power. He can't hold nobody down when he takes somebody down. His jiu-jitsu sucks. His kickboxing is subpar. So to be honest with you, the only way this fight is going to probably end is by decision, unless somebody accidentally catches somebody off guard. But when you're watching a Derek Lewis fight, when you're watching a Matt Hughes fight, you like, if he can just get him down, if he can just, it's like 4 rounds.
Matt Hughes is taking everybody down.
4 rounds to zip, and he need a finish. And you like, if he can just get him down, I know he can possibly win. That's what makes you watch to the end. The guy that has the one-punch knockout power, the person that only needs one takedown to hold the person down to finish him, or back in the day, the jits people, that just, you like, if he can get him in his guard, I know he can finish him. And you started seeing these people finish these people back in the day, and they were down 2 or 3 rounds, and they came back at the end. Specialists is what I've always enjoyed. So a lot of times the entertainment value wasn't there, but it was entertaining to me because I knew if this person can get this person in this position, then they have a chance, even if they're losing. GSP was well-rounded. That wasn't the case, and he was seldom in these situations to begin with, due to the fact that he was well-rounded. So again, from an entertainment standpoint, what excited me is watching somebody who I feel specialized in a particular area. So
I take it you really like the Matt Hughes against Frank Trigg fight, because Matt Hughes turned that around. Yes. I thought he was done in that fight, and then to see him turn around and come back and win and take Frank all the way to the other side of the octagon. I was like, damn. All right, let's move on, man.
Before we move topics, I just want to say this real quick, and I want to go back and backtrack to what you asked me before, and make sure that I explain and expound on that. When you asked me about did I purposely only choose people from movies?
Oh yeah,
as far as my Mount Rushmore. I'm glad you articulated what you did, because you have a legendary and a historical family who's contributed a great deal to the martial arts, and galvanized you guys and got you involved in martial arts based on them laying the blueprint and the foundation themselves. I am the first person and really the only one that was in martial arts in my family. So I didn't have anybody that introduced me to it. I grew up in a single household. It was just me and my mom. A father was not present. So a lot of those heroic people that came later, my instructors that came later, the reason they aren't mentioned is because of the fact that from an influential standpoint, what influenced me to start martial arts was the things that I saw in movies and television. Being a young person with growing up without a father, as a minority, in a very, very, very rough neighborhood in Detroit, who was bullied. We watched television and we actually absorbed what it was that we saw, whether it be cartoons or whether it be, actual movies like the ones that we were talking about and we named. Those movies were an escape for me, being slight of frame myself, being a minority, single parent household, like I just articulated, of being able to give me courage and hope, that these people, that the Jackie Chans and the Bruce Lees and all these other people that I saw in these movies that were getting defeated, getting bullied, getting picked on, or whatever the case was, they were able to use martial arts to be able to gain confidence and go back and to be able to defend themselves and win the day and become the hero at the end. So the people that I named, they're all in movies because I didn't have any martial art people precede me for me to be able to look up to. They influenced me through cinema, through those movies, to give me the courage to be able to want to go and learn martial arts, to be able to defend myself. And then through that, and because of that influence, I obviously met my instructors who was able to, lead me through the rest of the way. So that was the reason why my list was comprised of just people from movies.
You're not the only person to say that. So I get it because a lot of people have said that. That was never my thing. And what you just said right there, that leads perfectly into our next topic. Okay. So as a lot of you guys know, I do another show on the Martial Arts Network called Fists, Kicks, and Flicks. And it's a podcast about martial arts movies. And the reason I started that podcast was because it started during COVID. And I woke up one Saturday morning, just woke up out of my sleep, 8 o'clock in the morning, and said, I got an idea. I want to do a podcast about watching movies, because I did not grow up watching all of the Kung Fu martial arts movies. That stuff used to be on TV when I was flipping through. Man, I'm trying to get to the cartoons. I see it on, but I'm not really paying attention to it. Now, there were some martial arts movies that we did watch growing up, and those are going to be on my list. But a lot of times, a lot of the different Bruce Lee movies, my favorite Bruce Lee movie back in the day was Enter the Dragon. And the other ones, I've seen them, they were on, but it never made me want to watch or want to do martial arts, because I would live with my dad and my uncle was always around. Those were my heroes, and those are the people that I wanted to be like. So now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is our Mount Rushmore of martial arts movies. Like I said, I started Fists, Kicks, and Flicks during COVID. So 2020, nobody can go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. You're pretty much in the house. So I said, you know what? I've never really watched martial arts movies. Me and Trav never really watched them. So I think that could be a show that I can do. So I text Mike Gibbs. Mike was my first co-host. I text Mike and said, "Hey, you want to do this podcast with me? I want to watch movies, martial arts movies, and talk about them." He's like, "All right, cool. I'm about to go." He said, "I'm about to go to Best Buy right now and get the mic." He was like, "What kind of mic do I need?" And I said, "Well, I got this one." I showed him.
Mike Gibbs is rich though, man. You can do stuff like that when you got money, you got bread. You like, I'm about to go get the mic right now. Let me go get this high-end microphone. Whatever we need, I got it. Just the money sitting aside in my bank account for moments just such as these. When you the man and you got money like Mike Gibbs, you can do stuff like that.
He's gonna laugh at that. So I text Trav and said, "Yo, me and Mike Gibbs, we about to do a podcast about martial arts movies." And Trav says, what are you gonna put it on?" I was like, YouTube. He was like, "Nah, put it on the network. Put it on the Martial Arts Center network." He's like, "I got that going." I was like, "All right, I don't care. I'm just gonna do a podcast. It didn't matter to me." Right. So he went ahead and gave me the credentials and everything for the network and everything, and here we go. So Mount Rushmore of martial arts movies. So once again, we're going with 4. If you want to throw in an honorable mention after that, that's cool. But what's your Mount Rushmore of martial arts movies?
It worked out. My honorable mention just got bumped up, it looks like. To the fourth spot, my honorable mention just got bumped up.
Okay.
In no particular order.
Man. I couldn't rank them in order. I couldn't do that.
So No Retreat, No Surrender. God's going there, man. It's so funny that this was the topic for today because a friend of mine sent me something on Facebook earlier. It was some martial art, whatever, and I saw the picture of No Retreat, No Surrender. It's a lesser known movie to individuals unless you're a martial art head. Like, not everybody knows about it. This was like one of Van Damme's first or second movies. He was a villain in it, a bad guy, and an incredible.
Yeah, this was his first one.
It was his first movie, and he was an incredible villain. You know what I mean? Didn't even talk at all until the end of the movie, when he was in there. And it just really showed what hard work and training can do. Like, this guy was going through it, man, throughout the movie, getting bullied, he had discord with his father and his family, and he just really committed and dedicated himself to learning his craft. Hallucinated a little bit throughout the movie, right? Yeah. but it worked. It worked.
Hold on. I forgot about that. So he was hallucinating and talking to Bruce Lee, right?
Yeah, it was Bruce Lee's spirit that had come back from the grave.
Yeah,
which then obviously was not Bruce Lee. It looked like somebody from the Chinese food restaurant. I don't know who was the casting director for that one. Right. They did not do a good job of bringing this Bruce Lee character back, and he was the only one that could see him. Yes. He was the only one. So his friend RJ would go over there and he'd be talking in this abandoned house, by the way. So let me back up. Now, wait a minute. Now I'm talking about this out loud. This is getting a little bit ridiculous. Now that I'm saying it out loud.
Yeah,
he was squatting. He was squatting in a house. He had found a vacant house, moved the stuff in there, started squatting. And in this house, which maybe it was asbestos or something in there, and maybe that's what caused him to start hallucinating in this vacant house. This dude started hallucinating, and the spirit came to him and taught him quality martial arts, right? enough so to where he was able to go at the end of the movie and be successful at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? Gain success that an entire karate team was unable to be able to do, or people who were actually trained over a sustained period of time in martial arts. I'm not doing a good job of making this movie sound like something you want to watch, because I'm laughing now and talking about it out loud. On my Mount Rushmore, it's the first one I said.
They can watch listen to Fist, Kicks, and Flicks. We covered it on Fist, Kicks, and Flicks. But to go, what was the name of the karate school? Was it Sacramento Karate or San Diego Karate? It was the name of a city. It was the name of the karate school. And
I can't believe. I mean, I used to watch the movie every day. I can't believe I can't remember the name of
it's okay. It's really not important to say. But the crazy thing is, it was a karate school, and the guy is hallucinating about Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee comes to teach him. But Bruce Lee does kung fu. He doesn't do karate. So how did he teach you karate? That was a crazy part to me, man. Go ahead. What's your next one?
Watch it anyway, folks. It's good. It's gonna be corny probably now, in today's time, but it's a good movie. If nothing else, watch it for Van Damme. You can, if you want to fast forward past all of the stuff and just watch the fight scene at the end, you know what I mean, with the karate team and Van Damme. And the other dude was cold too. Before Van Damme came in and tagged him out, the other dude was cold too. Just by the way, if you want to watch it just for that, that's fine. Like it might be kind of corny, but okay.
Angel loved this movie.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I believe he loved it.
Next is Drunken Master. Drunken Master's got to go up there. Jackie Chan, an amazing job. You know, one of the quotes, one of the lines that my man said in the movie, I don't remember it exactly, but when he beat Jackie Chan, he told him, he said, "You can train kung fu for the rest of your life, and you will never beat me." Like, that was one of the most debilitating, demoralizing. Had him crawl between my legs. You know what I mean? And I'll let you live. And you can start karate. You can train kung fu the rest of your life. You're never gonna beat me. You know what I mean? And I was like, dang. And then just to come back and do his thing, man, it was a great movie. Love it. So I was juggling between two because I thought I only had three, but I have four, so I don't have to really juggle between them. So I guess I'll say Chinese Connection.
Okay.
I think that, again, I talked about that a little bit earlier about Bruce Lee in this movie pointing out the prejudice, and the discrimination between the Chinese and the Japanese. It was some great fight scenes in there. He did an amazing job acting. This was when he took on the entire karate school. You know what I mean? Like, just like, like, what's up? Let's go. So that was big for me. So that's got to go up there. And then the other one, which is probably lesser known to people, and it has one of Jackie Chan's greatest fight scenes in there, in my opinion. One of them. He has a lot of movies with a lot of great fight scenes, but one of them, it would be Wheels on Mills.
I don't think I've ever heard of that movie.
Wheels on Mills. Look it up. It's called Wheels on Mills. And it has one of the greatest fight scenes, Jackie Chan's greatest fight scenes in there. He fought Benny the Jet Urquidez in there, who's a very famous martial artist. If you don't know who he is, he's done an amazing job, just an amazing martial artist, actual fighter, not just an actor. He was an actual fighter, actually went out, competed, did his thing, and also was a great actor as well. But he fought Benny the Jet Urquidez in a legendary fight scene. I believe it or not, I actually referenced this, and I would sit up late at night, just as recent as years ago, when I was helping my son prepare for his fights, and this is one of the only movies I've ever done this with. I was watching this fight scene, and I came up with some things that helped me improve my son's fighting prowess, and he was able to actually use in some of his MMA fights. And it's actually a term. Like when we're training, I'll say Wheels on Mills, and he'll know what that is that needs to be done. I sat up and broke it down. It is that complex of a fight scene. Again, I'm a big underdog kind of guy. This was one where he was really being outmatched. He was being outmatched at every turn in this fight scene, and he had to sit down and talk to himself and say, I need to treat this. I need to calm down. I need to treat this like a training session, because this is the only way I can win. He couldn't figure him out. And then after he sat down, he took a deep breath, he talked to himself, and he brought himself back. He was able to actually make in-fight adjustments that actually shocked Benny Urquidez. And it was amazing. So I don't want to ruin it, but that would probably be my fourth one.
I'm going to put that on the list because I know me and Joe have not reviewed that or talked about that. So I don't know about Drunken Master. I don't know if we watched that one or not. I got to talk to Joe about it. But those are two, because Joe and I always talk. Sometimes when we don't do it in advance, our show is wrapping up and we'll be like, what are we watching next week? And then we have to quickly try and figure out something. So I got 3 written down over here. So that's cool, man. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Because you said Flashpoint too, and I have.
Oh boy! Oh man,
I got that written down too. So
you gotta enjoy that.
Yeah.
Boy.
All right. So my list, no particular order. I have The Last Dragon. That was one of the first martial arts movies I ever saw, and that was a black martial arts movie in the 80s. Like, that was something that you really didn't heard of before, man. And the soundtrack was nice. Motown Records produced it. very Gordy. You know, it's funny thing when we did that for Fiscus and Flicks, Joe had never heard of it before.
Okay.
And I was like, how did you never hear of The Last Dragon? But he liked it, you know. And it's corny, man. It's campy, but I grew up with it.
We're gonna have to have a conversation about this movie. I don't know if we talked about this or not, or there's somebody else to talk to, because I have running debates about this movie with people.
What's the debate?
About my take on it. So
I want to hear your take. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, who was the last dragon, and what do you view Leroy's role of responsibility in this movie? Because the movie will lead you to believe he was a victim. The movie leads you to believe he was a victim. So do you? I don't want to call him the bad guy. I don't want to call him the bad guy.
Talking about Shonuff?
No, I'm talking about Leroy.
I'm not calling him. I don't consider him a bad guy.
I don't want to call him the bad guy, but do you consider him a victim? And then the question is, who was actually the last dragon?
Okay, so we talked about that last dragon part when we did the show, and I think the last dragon was pretty much like they didn't give belts, but I think last dragon was the belt because he went all the way around. Because when him and his master were talking, he showed him like these the circle, and they had all of these different little logos, and I think he said, now this is the last dragon, and Leroy was expecting it. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question then, because
I think I took that as
who was the better martial artist? Who was the better overall, more noble, better martial artist in this movie?
Between him and Shonuff.
Yeah.
Well, Leroy won at the end, so I'm assuming I figured it's him. Do you think it's Shonuff?
Here's my take on the movie.
Okay.
All right. First of all, Leroy contributed 100% to all of the problems that was in this movie. He was not a victim.
Do you know who's Leroy and who's Shonuff? You know the difference between.
He 100% contributed to this. 100%. Now, I'm guessing that there's mostly martial artists that are watching this or tuning in, primarily being on the main network, Martial Art Network. Let me.
Travis got to cut this up, man. This might be a debate, man.
Let me rehash the way that this thing went. Okay. And we are both from Detroit, right? And we're also both people of color. Mm-hmm. So this may not translate or resonate with everybody. You know, I'm Stephen A. now. Zoom in and put the camera on me. Put the camera on me. Let me explain something to you. This man woke up and chose to have problems. He woke up and he put on a karate uniform to wear to the movies. Now, hold on. This man woke up and got dressed. You have on a Cobra Kai shirt. I have on a black undershirt or whatever. You know, if we went out right now to the movies or to eat dinner or whatever the case is, we will be very inconspicuous individuals. This man woke up and dressed with the karate uniform on to go to the movies and sit in
Kung
the
Fu.
row.
That was a Kung Fu outfit.
A Kung Fu outfit. I'm sorry. Kung Fu outfit. That's even worse. He has a Kung Fu outfit on at the movie theater.
Yeah.
At the movie theater, this man comes in, sure enough, as again, he's being disruptive. I get it. You know what I mean? He wants to, he wants to be the best. He wants to be the absolute best around, and he wants to fight the people that's the best. Bruce Leroy is in the front row with a Kung Fu uniform on, right? And then when the smoke started coming and it started being an issue, because he's trying to figure out, you know what I mean, like who wants some, like let's get some sprawling in, let's get some work in. Everybody else fought to defend this movie theater except him. He, in fact, gets up and goes out the side door or the back door and runs away and escapes, right? Throughout the movie, there was multiple opportunities for him to address this person in this situation. Yeah. He's going around still throughout the streets with this Kung Fu uniform on, right? That's an open invitation. That's like you walk around with an open firearm, you know what I'm saying? You know, just showing, right? It's an open invitation for people to want to ask you questions or to challenge you. What, as martial arts, our instructors used to tell us, don't wear your belt outside, right? And in many cases, it was coming up, we wasn't even supposed to really share that we were doing martial arts with people, which is nowadays we know is a very bad business model, right? If you don't tell anybody, how they gonna know to come to school? right? But back in the day, we knew that we could be accosted because people might want to challenge us if they knew that we knew martial arts. So we didn't wear our belts outside. We didn't definitely walk around with our karate uniforms on to the park, hanging out, sitting on the bench, like, you know. So this guy is walking around with this. He's got people, and because he's ducking his fade, he's ducking his smoke, he's not addressing it because he's obviously built himself to be this martial art guru or whatever. People know who he is because he's walking around all day with a karate uniform or a kung fu uniform on. He lets these people go. He lets Shonuff go to a school, disrespect him in his school in front of his students, and he doesn't address it. And then as a result, because Shonuff is so frustrated that he is refusing, he's supposed to be the best. That's what everybody's telling him, because he's refusing to be able to deal with this challenge. It prompts him to then go to his family business and start being more aggressive and tear his family business up. And he still continues to avoid the situation, which he partially prompted by deciding to go to the movies with a kung fu uniform on and make himself in the neighborhood known as being Bruce Leroy, this kung fu master. Then later in the movie, he did not get the dragon first. Shonuff got it first. He got the glow first. Shonuff got the glow. So what did make him the last dragon was he was the last one that got the glow, but actually Shonuff got it first. So that would mean to me he was better. He was better in every way throughout the movie. Yeah, he did beat him at the end, I suppose. So, you know, it gave it a nice little storybook ending. But throughout the movie, there was nothing about Bruce Leroy that made me want to be him. The dude was a coward. He allowed his family to get bullied. He got embarrassed in front of his students. You know what I mean?
What? You mean to tell me if somebody comes into your academy and tells you to kiss their feet, you ain't
in front of your students?
Well, he did have his kid in a chokehold, right? Like one of his students was.
If he would have fucked that fool from jump, or just not wore that karate uniform or kung fu or whatever to the movies, or ran around the neighborhood running his mouth, then he wouldn't have even been in it to begin with. This would have never happened. That's on him. That's called a stupid tax. You got to pay a stupid tax. You get tax for being stupid. You do stupid things happen. That's on him.
You mean that too, Zeke. You mean that too.
He should have. Not from our hood. This wouldn't happen in our community. There's nobody you know that this would have happened. This story is not relatable in any way to anybody from our community that you know. But go ahead.
All right. So, man, that was a nice rant. So I got Last Dragon, the second one on my list, the Karate Kid. Now, if it wasn't for Cobra Kai, I probably wouldn't have the Karate Kid on there. But I did watch the Karate Kid, all three movies a lot as a kid, and especially the series, man. The Cobra Kai series just kind of got a hold of me, man, and I really enjoyed that. My third movie.
We never gonna finish the show because that's another debate. That's a debate in that one too. Well, now these are your favorites, so I'm not debating them being your favorite.
No. That's good. I
want to know what your view is on these things. So was Cobra Kai the bad school, or was
I don't think so. No, we had that debate on man. The first episode of Fists, Kicks, and Flicks when Joe and Angel came on, we did the Karate Kid, and Joe and Angel attacked me. They came at me because I was like, Daniel caused all of that. What you're saying right now about Leroy is what I was saying about Daniel.
And that's the truth. But so we don't have to get into that. But what's your view of Cobra Kai? Was that a bad school?
No, I don't think so.
Or was Mr. Miyagi, were they in the wrong, or was Mr. Miyagi in the wrong?
I definitely think Mr. Man. See, you can't go around attacking kids. and that's exactly what Mr. Miyagi did but at the same time, they were beating the shit out of Daniel at that time.
They were. So he said, I get that. I get that. But as a dojo though, because the series, the movies, and then the series Cobra Kai, there was a concerted, systematic attack to try to destroy Cobra Kai. And people throughout the series, which didn't seem relatable to me, the kids seemed like they was traumatized. And Daniel traumatized from Cobra Kai. I can't let this Cobra Kai exist after what they've done to us over the years.
Yeah.
Back up the first Karate Kid. Let's back all the way up. Was this a bad school? Absolutely not. This was a school. It was an amazing school, by the way. He had students outside. Kids gonna be kids. They shouldn't have been messing with him outside to beating them up. But that's what happened when you move somewhere new and you start hollering at somebody's girl. That girl was obviously above this dude's station, pay grade. She was out of his league. And he hollering at her on the beach. We ain't even gonna get into all that. So he was minding his own business and his domestic affairs with his girl, and they complicated relationship, whatever they may have been. Daniel inserted himself into it. Obviously, they started jumping them. They weren't supposed to be doing all of that. But did you see the way that dojo was ran? This is a brick and mortar facility. This dude paying his mortgage, his lease, or whatever he's paying. He had students enrolled in the program. It was yes, sir, no, sir. They all fell in line. They were very disciplined. And then this man comes into the karate school essentially offering up a challenge, telling his instructor, hey, listen, man, don't be messing with, and he like, look, man, I'm running class here, man. I got class going on. He had a great, a motto, show no mercy. For real. So if somebody is messing with you, right, that don't mean you a bad guy. Nobody said go start stuff with people and show no mercy by beat them to death. But if somebody started fooling with you and messing with you, isn't that pretty much what we teach our students to begin with without using those words? If somebody started bothering you, you need to make sure you can make it home to your loved one. So listen, I was minding my business. You came and started attacking me. So I'm not going to show no mercy if my life is on the line, right? So it wasn't a bad, horrible motto that he had going into this thing. He came in, he challenged them or had a request. He said, well, look, let's handle this at the tournament. You know what I mean? He instructed his students to leave him alone until the tournament came, right? What was Mr. Miyagi doing? I mean, this dude was teaching some solid martial arts. His students were uniformed. His students were respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sensei. No, sensei. They were coachable. They listened to what it is that he said do, beforehand and at the tournament. What was Mr. Miyagi doing? Daniel didn't sprawl not one time getting ready for this fight. All Mr. Miyagi did was teach his dudes some forms, have them wash their cars, out in the middle of the lake or standing on one foot, doing a jumping front snap kick with a fake. Went to a karate tournament, and again, this is what people are not paying attention to. And I know we're running a little bit long. Went to a karate tournament, told Daniel he didn't know the rules to the tournament in which he enrolled him in, and stole a black belt. Stole a black belt on the way in. Stole a black belt from the guy at the registration desk, took him in the back, put this on a uniform, which was, by the way, a Century uniform. And you can see the Century logo on there. That he claimed his wife made himself or herself or something. He lied. That was a damn Century uniform. He didn't make that uniform himself.
I think she was talking about the patch.
Okay. He didn't make the uniform. That's a Century uniform. I know what a Century uniform look like. Stole a black belt, put the black belt around the boy who didn't know how to tie the belt. You know what I mean? Took him out there. The boy didn't sprawl one time to get ready for it. Told him he didn't know the rules. And then went out there and put him inside of a tournament. Listen, that's why Cobra Kai was the Valley, whatever, state champions all the other years. It was a great dojo, you know what I mean? And they were railroaded and targeted throughout this entire part 1, 2, and 3 and the Cobra Kai series. But go ahead. That was your number 2.
Yeah, honestly, too, one of the things that we talked about on Fist Case of Flicks was I don't think that Daniel, in a real life situation, Daniel's not getting into the junior black belt division and then winning it. I can't see that happening. When he had 6 weeks of training, not 6 weeks, you're not winning the junior black belt division.
No, not at all.
Training. But anyway, my third movie is Best of the Best, man. That movie, man.
I can't believe I left that one off.
I love that movie, man. It's such an emotional movie, and it's about team fighting, and we don't really get that in a lot of movies. Team fighting, sport karate, team fighting, and the ending. The ending wasn't what you expected to happen. Like most times when you're watching the movie, the good guy is going to win at the end. No, man, they play with our emotion with that movie. So
I think I might have took Chinese Connection off and put that one in. I think I might have took that one off and put that one in. I might. That's one. I can't believe I forgot about that one. Very good one.
Now the last movie, man. Like I said, man, I grew up with I almost said Return of the Jedi, Enter the Dragon, and I used to like that a lot, but I gotta put Enter the Dragon as my honorable mention, man. My fourth one I'm going to put is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That first movie, man, when that dropped, man, that was like a bomb. Turtle Mania was everywhere, man. And it was different from the cartoon that I was used to. And I didn't know, but when I'm watching that movie, I was like, why is Raphael so mean? Like, he was the jokey one. He wasn't like Michelangelo, like the little brother, but he had a little bit of humor in the cartoon. He wasn't like that in that first movie. So then I got into reading and seeing that it was based off of the original comic series, and that's how Raphael acted in that. So and then about seeing about Casey Jones and April and everything, man. It was, as that franchise went on with the other movies, it got a lot more silly. But that first Turtle movie was way more serious than the other ones, man. And I mean, that really changed a lot for a lot of kids at that time, man. That was a huge movie when it dropped. So, and then like I said, Enter the Dragon. That those 5 martial arts movies right there, man. I can watch those at any time. If I'm flipping through the channel, I see them on, I'm gonna see what part of the movie.
Stop and watch.
Yeah, I got to.
Yeah, good list.
All right, man. We're gonna move on. So we now will talk about Karate Combat. We'll save our comments for that for next week, man. Let's just get right to the professor's perspective. Do you want me to play the audio or you?
No, you don't have to play the audio. You don't have to play the audio. It's fine.
Okay, now it might. Let me see if I can mute it from here. All right, here we go.
So this week is MMA. I wanted to go over some MMA for my MMA fans or people that's training MMA. This is if a person has a body lock. So their back is against the cage and you're in front. And the person's kind of holding on for dear life, right? So they're just kind of holding on and trying to stall for a break or a restart in action. So this is a great way to be able to break that grip and be able to actually use this to be able to secure a position where you can strike from or actually a takedown. All right. So as you will see, I'm going to show in just a couple seconds, it'll reset and it'll show him locking up and a couple different things that we can do to be able to break this grip. So whenever I'm in that position where the person's holding on like that, I want to make sure that I understand that I'm not going to be able to effectively be able to strike, so I don't want to waste my energy, right? So no effective striking there. I don't have really the range or the position to do that. I am worried about knees from that position, so I use the back of my hands, kind of like sensors, and I put them on his thighs. That way I can feel if he's starting to knee off of either side. And then I'm able to put a little bit of pressure at that point in time with those hands to prevent those knees from being able to come up. All right. And then from there, if we can back up just a little bit, I don't know if it's going to restart again. Go back to the beginning. So okay. Yeah, right there, I'm going to actually grab my own wrist. So I'm blocking right there, so I don't have to worry about him kneeing. And if he does knee, I can actually feel it, and I can put pressure on those arms to stop him. Right? I'm going to grab my own wrist, and when I grab my wrist, I'm going to actually squeeze my elbows together and then poke my hips out. And by doing that simultaneously, it's going to actually cause his grip to be able to pop loose. I'm going to slide my arm back to his wrist, and then the other arm reaches right at his tricep and pulls it across his body. By lifting up like that here, it changes his angle. He can't strike from there, and it makes him vulnerable for me to strike and for takedowns. So I can either step across and take him down, or I'm going to do an ankle pick where I drop down right by the ankle, grab the ankle, and I use my head to be able to drive and take him down. And obviously, I didn't do a great job of it because I was at the time explaining it, so I didn't really do it in the most detailed fashion. But again, can't strike there. I'm worried about those knees because as I start to back away, he'll start to throw knees. So my hands go there, all right, to be able to feel if he's kneeing. Grab my wrist, squeeze the elbows in, poke the hips out, slide back to control the wrist, grab at the tricep and lift it across his body. This exposes the body for strikes. It exposes it for knees. I can step across and get a takedown on that side, or I can drop down right behind the ankle, all right, use my head and drive and be able to get a takedown from that position. This is very effective in my perspective, as we see a lot of times when a person is up against the cage, maybe they've taken some damage and they're trying to stall the rest of the round out, right? Or they're trying to get a reset or restart, right? For the referee to restart them so they can get to space. I don't want to lose that opportunity. So this is a great way to be able to force a grip break and then be able to also open up some lanes to where I can strike, right, where that person can't defend, and or set up, a clean and easy takedown from there. Great move, very underutilized in MMA. That's my perspective.
Nice. Let me ask you this: when you do combinations or drills like that, do you have your training partners or teammates, students? Do you have a particular set number that you guys do? Like, do you say like do it 10 times and then switch roles, or do you guys go for a particular amount of time? Like, we're gonna do this for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that.
Typically, I like to have the students do it 2 to 3 times back to back. First time, obviously, they're going to run through it. Second time, once they've had an opportunity to run through it, I want them to do it again. Third time is really training that muscle memory. And then maybe by that third time, the opponent can give their partner can give mild resistance at that point in time. So that way, that opens up the door for questioning. I find that if I just have a timeline where I have people do it for 3 minutes or for 4 or 5 minutes, one person starts to goof off sometimes. Sometimes they start chatting and they start talking. It's not a person just trying to run through the motions, just to run the time down. But if you have them do it a set number, if I have them do a set number of times, in my experience, then each one of those times, they're actually taking the time to be as detail-oriented and focused as possible before their partner gets an opportunity to be able to do it.
Okay, nice. All right. So, you have anything else for tonight, man?
No, man, that's it, man. Great show, man. Great debates, right, on these movies. Hopefully, give some just a different perspective. I think it's fun. I think it gives a different perspective. When we watch things, we watch them through our own particular lens, and I think it gives a different perspective. But definitely watch those movies that's on that list. You're gonna enjoy them.
Yeah, I got like I said, Flashpoint, Wheels on Meals, and Drunken Master. So I'm gonna check those out and let Joe know that also. One day, man, you gotta maybe me and Joe will rewatch either The Last Dragon or Karate Kid and have you come on so you can give your point of view with those movies.
Looking forward to it.
All right, everyone. Stay safe, stay strong. We'll holler at you next week. And I'm going to end our stream. Good night.